Hims and Hers did a Super Bowl ad, set the world on fire. People were pissed because what they did was they kind of captured the Maha message and made it look like it's about being healthy. But the real message was, oh, and by the way, we'll sell you GLP-1s, call us today, the weight loss drugs. And so that upset, the health advocates, and rightfully so. But then it upset Big Pharma because Big Pharma said, look, this is the problem. You make us follow these rules and we have to give disclaimers and side effects, but these guys didn't. And the problem with that is it went from a conversation about a telemedicine company potentially acting in a way that some people think was unethical to a full-blown attack on compounding pharmacies. And the reason that attack was perpetuated is Big Pharma is attempting to every day discredit and scare people away from compounding pharmacies.
What's a compounding pharmacy?
So a compounding pharmacy compounds medications unique to the patient. They also are utilized anytime there is a shortage in the marketplace. And so do not be fooled. I own one of the biggest compounding pharmacies in the country, and every single product we make is FDA-approved ingredients that come from the same exact suppliers as Big Pharma. Every single batch we make is independently third-party verified by an independent lab. Every single dosage we ship out the door, we then retest to make sure that it's exactly what we thought it was, said it was, and it is. Okay? There are dozens of checks and balances. And the FDA has been in my building 3 times in 18 months. There are over 5,000 big pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities that the FDA has not inspected in 5 or more fucking years. Why? Because they've moved their facilities overseas. They're in India. They're in these third world countries that are hard to get to. The FDA has to file for a visa and then go over there and stay in a hotel with sometimes no running water. They don't want to do that, so they just don't go look. And the reason we're on a GLP-1 shortage here in America is because Eli Lilly's American facility got shut down because of a whistleblower. And so Big Pharma's out there trying to scare people away from companies like, all of these telemedicine companies, all these compounding pharmacies, and tell people these are dangerous, these are unsafe. No. It is no more dangerous than what you're doing. And in fact, I would argue what Big Pharma's doing is astronomically more dangerous because they don't have the checks and balances and they have the lobbying power.
What happened with the Eli Lilly thing?
Eli Lilly ended up getting hammered at one of their facilities. They came in and there were barefoot people in the sterile rooms. They literally had destroyed records. Their efficacy data wasn't correct. I mean, there's a book called Bottle of Lies where this investigative journalist goes over to India with the FDA just to follow them, and they're literally burning records. Not Lilly, but a big pharmaceutical company was literally burning records. And we can go back in history to the long, sordid, jaded history of Big Pharma. A lot of people talk about Monsanto when we were talking about food. Bayer, Monsanto are the same company, right? They're owned by the same holding company. So Bayer, that produces drugs, is owned by, and Monsanto are sister corporations, and Monsanto produces chemicals that create cancer. Bayer sells cancer drugs. But before that, Bayer sold hemophilia drugs, and they knowingly infected people with HIV in the late 80s, early 90s when it was a death sentence. So they cross-contaminated a hemophilia drug with HIV. They could destroy the batch and lose revenue for that quarter, or they could ship it into the marketplace and risk infecting patients with HIV. What do you think they did? They shipped it to third world countries at a time when HIV was a death sentence. And then, back to compounding versus Big Pharma, compounding pharmacies came out and said, we can make HIV treatments for literally $12 a month at a time when Big Pharma was charging $12,000 a month. And they got sued by all the big pharmaceutical companies for trying to provide life-saving treatments to third world countries. Finally, there was enough of a voice, overwhelming swell of angry Americans and Europeans that they had to back down. But it was 2 years of an obstruction mentality. How many people died?
What are the drugs that you're most worried about at the moment? If we started to put opioid crisis, everyone was talking about that. It seems like this is something that there's some downstream complications, but I have to assume that getting them into a high level of scrutiny when it comes to your prescription is better than where we were before. So, okay, something has been started.
Yeah.
What are the drugs that you're most concerned about for the future of America?
So it's a duality that's a challenge. It's the drugs and the treatments that big pharma suppresses coming to the market. So one example would be peptides, right? GLP-1s are peptides. Why were they not on the bulks list that got banned by the FDA? Because they've been patented and monetized by big pharma. Why did BPC and these other drugs go on the naughty list? Not because they were dangerous. That's an absolute bullshit lie. They went on the naughty list because Merck has over 200 patents in process for peptides. They are attempting, so they, in one breath, they say, oh, no, you got to get rid of these things. These are dangerous, FDA. You got to shut these guys down. But then what they do is they come and capture those molecules, patent them, and sell the exact same thing that compounding pharmacies were already providing to the public for a fraction of the dollar amount. So like a GLP-1 is $1,600 through the insurance big pharma model. Most compounding pharmacies are providing that compound for under $300 a month, mailed to your doorstep. And depending on your dosage, it may be like $100 a month, which is just mind-boggling. The big ones that are worrisome for me and have been forever, and this is partially why I left being a drug rep all these years ago. When you look, and this is one of the things Bobby Kennedy's kicked a hornet's nest over, is these SSRIs, these antidepressants. Literally, if you look at the data of over 75 studies in a meta-analysis, 85% of the efficacy of an SSRI was related to placebo. These are their own studies. These are Big Pharma's own studies. 85% was related to placebo. It has a 50% failure rate or relapse rate. It causes increased suicidal ideation, violent thoughts. You know, when we talk about the gun crisis in America, look at how many of these mass shootings involved antidepressants. These are dangerous compounds, and they don't have the efficacy that the American people have been sold on. In fact, even in the studies on a 52-point scale, a depression scale, it differentiates from placebo by 1 to 2 points. 1 to 2 points. We could give you sugar pills with none of the side effects, but then we don't even talk about diet, exercise, lifestyle. If I don't work out, I'm an anxious wreck, man. I mean, it's just the way my mind is. I have to go work out. I don't want to. I'm like everyone else. Like, and once you get in it, you enjoy it. But I think it's just a matter of like reframing things for the American people and helping them see the answer's not at the bottom of a pill bottle, man. It never has been. It never will be.
What do you think the future of the sort of psychiatric drug world is? Surely this is ripe for some new formulation, SSRIs. I saw that study that dance was the most effective way. Dancing regularly was the most effective way.
I haven't seen that.
It was exercise based. It was a big study that was like exercise versus SSRIs. And it's some absurd amount more effective. But that when you actually looked at the list and they put it in order of what was the most impactful, dancing with another person was
that's fascinating,
the highest impact thing. But I think that's kind of a bit of a cheat, because you're not just looking at an exercise modality there. You're looking at something that's pro-social. You're looking at something that's, you know, got other people involved, and so on and so forth. So it's like, hey, that's a little bit of trickery. But anyway, surely psychiatric drugs, mental health world, is there not something?
I think we, as much as we're connected, we're also isolated. Think about it. Like, think about how much we're on our phones. Think about the reward system. And I've heard you have podcasts where you've talked about it. It all elevates our cortisol levels. It all devalues our self-worth. It all creates and perpetuates this problem of mental health. And it starts now at a very young age. And our diets, our lifestyles, our ability to exercise and get fresh air and build community, you know, as woo-woo as that sounds, those are real answers to these problems. And the other part is, there were answers and have been answers for thousands of years, like products like Ibogaine. Like, it's not a product. This is a plant-based medicine that was used on the plains of Africa 8,000 years ago. Why have these things been suppressed and hidden and villainized? Well, we know why. The same old narrative, right? The establishment wants to suppress and prevent things from coming into the marketplace. I'm very optimistic about a treatment like Ibogaine or psilocybin. And even at Wastewell right now, we're doing a project called the Minds Project, affiliated with Dell Medical School, where we're diving into using psilocybin for problem solving and complex problem skills. Because one of the lead scientist, Dr. Bruce Danner, worked at NASA and had an experience on psychedelics where he solved an equation that NASA had been working on for like 7 years.
No way.
There's so much to the human brain and the complexities. Even products and so much is controlled by the insurance. I hate to keep going back to that, but like one of the treatments